Hello, everybody. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. I got an interesting story today. This came from this is about the Caitlin Denison murder, or we don't know it's a murder. It's a missing person. She traveled to Midland and she went missing. I made several videos about this. She looked like another young girl, Krystal Hall, that also traveled to Midland, and she went missing. So I suspect they're connected together, and it's to the same human trafficking, sex trafficking ring that was involved in the underground oil show parties and the forced prostitution of the girl that Angie told me about that was murdered in 2010 at the oil show party. And so, anyways, here I saw this morning on my Facebook post from this Autumn Johnson this post right here, and it said, "Midland friends. Caitlin went missing in Midland. Someone has to have seen something. The video was put together by a well-respected and true crime YouTuber and the sister of Caitlin. If you don't want to watch, you can email the Midland Police Department. Instead, ask them to make this case a priority with the email to Alonzo at midlandtexas.gov. I assume he's with the Midland Police Department. I almost wondered if that wasn't some kind of like gig at me, you know what I mean? It's a well-respected true crime YouTuber, or whatever, because I only made 1,000 videos, had 1 million views, and dealt with incredible censorship. It should have been a national news story long time ago. My story and all the information. I've done several videos on this already. But here was this this video, the very suspicious disappearance of Caitlin Denison featuring her sister, and that was by Kendall Ray on YouTube. Okay. Well, I went ahead and here I'm gonna show you that didn't link up there, but I'm gonna go ahead and show you that. Here we go. This is Kendall Ray, and I'm gonna show you how many views this has had. It's had 710,000 views, and it was just posted 3 days ago. Okay, so it and you can see 39,000 likes on it. So it's got a whole bunch of exposure where, when I go out there, and I actually had crime tips in the one I made, but it didn't have that many. But anyways, here the top comment was mine from 2 days ago, had 818 likes on it. Said, Caitlin wasn't the only one that traveled to Midland, went missing. Krystal Hall, who looked a lot like her, came here in October 2019 and was never seen again. I made several videos about this, so I'll post it on Kendall Ray's YouTube. Well, anyways, I decided to follow through and send, a tip to Midland Police, because we all know that there was a large group of police that were under my home, involved in the premeditated capital murder attempt on my life that left me crippled, and they destroyed my life when they tampered with evidence and falsified police reports, just evil stuff what these Midland police done. But I don't believe that all police is bad, I'm a lifetime supporter of police, so I'm hoping that Mr. Alonzo here, that he's not another dirty cop. And that's why I'm going to put him to the test, And so I sent this email to him as instructed, and then I copied and pasted it and posted it on Facebook. But here, this is a short read, and and I think there's leads in here. Well, I think that what we'll really know is if they follow up. If they don't follow up, then they don't care. You know what I mean? They already knew, or whatever. I always sat there and thought maybe Caitlin and even Krystal was in the underground home. Maybe the secret police were down there with her. That's a very, very good possibility, I think, because that's where the little girl was murdered at before refusing to prostitute. So here we go. I said, Mr. Alonzo, I saw a video posted on Facebook this morning about missing woman Caitlin Denison, so I followed the instructions and I contacted you. This was the message that I read. And then that's what I copied and pasted what I'd already read there to you a minute ago. Okay. And here, let me make that a little bit smaller. Okay. And so Caitlin wasn't the only girl that came to Midland and went missing, as that same thing happened to Krystal Hall in 2019, a young woman that looked a lot like her. I made several videos about both of these, as I've suspected they're connected with a common human trafficking ring that is involved in the murder of several people here. In October 2010, my friend from work, Angie Mungia Herrley, told me about a young girl that was murdered at an oil show party she was at because she didn't want to prostitute.
In 2013, the remains of a 14 to 21-year-old black girl was found outside of Midland, who I've suspected was this same girl that was murdered at the Oil party. There's a Crimestoppers for this homicide. Okay, at the time, I've submitted tips on that. At the time, Angie was leaving my home, which is located behind the Midland Home Depot store, and at the location of the parties in 5 minutes. That was the location of the party where the girl was murdered at. I know this because we were talking on the phone while she drove there. This is a fact that can be verified with phone records. So, okay, so I'm going, here's some proof, that you can follow up on if you're not a dirty cop. For this reason, I believe these oil show parties were going on in some secret underground homes, which I've now documented multiple people as saying were here. Google Maps is showing a large building in my backyard on the map screen, which can't be seen on the sat screen or from above ground. I believe this is one of the four three-bedroom $1 million underground homes which I was told about, and where the oil show parties were going on when the young girl was murdered. You can see that right now on maps.google.com. I wonder if Caitlin or Krystal had been taken down there. Maybe there's DNA evidence down there. Maybe we should just expose them. I mean, I think that's where the other little girl was murdered at. Using Google Earth, I found an old satellite map that showed what looked like a tunnel was cut going from the back of Home Depot to my home. It's my belief that Angie and the others at the 2010 oil show parties were parking in the Home Depot parking lot, going underground there, and then coming back here via this tunnel, with the parties located in the underground home in my backyard. Now, I don't know if they're still going on, but very possibly. Like I said, maybe Caitlin and Krystal are trapped down right there and being forced into prostitution by the secret police. I just don't know. Rhonda Denman Rogers told me about another facility located a half block from my home, and I suspected this one is located an empty lot at the end of Whittle Way next to home on Westmont Court. So maybe if she wasn't murdered in the one in my backyard, maybe it was one of the other four, and I think another one is around the corner. Okay. On January 28, 2012, I was ambushed and shot by somebody under my home with burglar alarms going off my attic. I've now documented 50 other homeowners reporting people in the attic across the nation, with a dozen addresses here in Midland and a dozen in Odessa. Evidence was found in 2019 which placed 5 police officers, Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, Angel, and Hale, under my home on this night. For this reason, I suspect they may have been at the underground oil show parties back in 2010 when the young girl was murdered. I was telling my story to Sheriff candidate Joe Lozano during the election for Midland Sheriff last year, or 2020, while secretly recording him, and he told me that these underground homes was a hideout for the late Sheriff Painter. I suspect that Painter may have been one of the high-level police at the underground show parties in 2010 when the young girl was murdered, who Angie was afraid of. I also believe the young previous owner of my home, Mike Lawhon, was murdered here and taken to Fort Worth the week before the 2008 oil show started. That would make sense, since in the backyard's an underground facility where they're having oil show parties, right? I'm glad to answer any questions that you have, and these fact-filled videos have even more evidence and information on them. And I sent that this morning. I'm going to show you. Okay, that was 6 hours ago. I haven't got a phone call. No question, nothing. But, it's going to take a while to, watch these videos. Okay, so here's the missing from Midland video. That one is about Krystal and Caitlin, evidence in that. This 2010 oil show party murder has evidence and leads to solve the murder of this girl. Okay, Sheriff Painter's hideout was the secret recording of Sheriff candidate Joe Lozano during the election, telling me that Painter used to hide out in these underground homes. Proof of underground homes and tunnels is a compilation of all the print screens and proofs that I have showing that these underground homes and tunnels are here. Like Google Maps, proof that I wasn't shot with my gun means somebody under my home shot me. There's just a whole long list of people documented saying they're here. Plus, you can see them on Google Maps. The history of people in the attic. And then, and so that video, is important. It says, hey, there's 50 homeowners across the nation now, a dozen here, a dozen there, I
contacted the city of Midland, asked for a list of all homeowners who reported people in the attic. They said nobody had. It's just it's amazing what's going on here and how it's being hidden from the public. These burglaries, thefts, and murders. What happened tells about the premeditated capital attempted murder of my life. And some people have even asked, if because it was obviously premeditated, nobody accidentally breaks in a home and then shoots a homeowner by surprise, right? I mean, that takes premeditation. That's why it's a capital crime here. That's one of the reasons it's capital crime. But some people have wondered if maybe it was because I found out about the young girl being murdered that had high-level police there, and then they decided to murder me, and that would kind of make sense because now it's proven that police were under my home, and that's why we're thinking maybe these what I call the secret police were involved in the human trafficking, sex trafficking, forced prostitution, and if they know something about the since they were under my home, maybe they know something about the murder of the young girl that was murdered under my home. It's believed in the backyard, and maybe Krystal and Caitlin. The pictures of the secret police. That's the pictures. They tried to disable the security camera in my bedroom on the night of the murder attempt on my life, and accidentally started it. And they caught themselves planting evidence, staging the crime scene of the capital murder attempt on my life. That's an amazing video. So, and then suspected murder of Mike Lawhon, the previous young homeowner of this home that died the week before the 2008 oil show started. Here, this video, Midland Home Depot store, different stories, different compilations, Google Maps, everything to do with the Midland Home Depot store and how I believe it's connected to these crimes. I was actually at Home Depot telling this clerk, my story one day, and she just blurts out, if you happen to see a lot of cars in the parking lot late at night, it's because we're stalking. And I hadn't thought about it. But, an international oil party would need a lot of parking, and they would need an excuse. And then at the back of Home Depot, you could see where a tunnel was coming towards my house in the backyard, where one of the 4 underground homes is, and that's where it's believed that little girl was murdered because she didn't want to prostitute. And then the complete story, and that was a viral video I did where I just got in front of the camera and I tried to tell, starting when I first moved here. And then the last link here, that was the video by Kendall Ray that I showed you a minute ago. And then I had my address, name, and like I said, phone number there. And, for this law enforcement officer, you've got any questions about this, contact me because there's plenty of evidence to solve, multiple murders. Stop this, this crime ring. Here's one of the attachments that I sent to Alonzo, Mr. Alonzo, this law enforcement officer. And this is an amazing one in itself right here. On this side is the Crimestoppers for the young girl that was found outside of Midland, the 14 to 21-year-old black girl in 2013 that I believe was murdered at the underground oil show parties that was 5 minutes from my home in 2010 at the oil show party. And I'm showing here on Google Maps, if anybody goes to Google Maps, put in my address, 3802 Fair Circle, on the map screen, you see a large building in the backyard, but on the satellite screen, it's not there. You go outside, it's not there. So I believe that one of the 4 underground homes, that might be where this little girl was murdered at. And that might have been where the secret police were at before, when I was shot. Literally, I think that might be real possible. This is a very similar, actually, there's the same picture right there. But this is a Google Earth map from 2011, and that's about 6 months before the murder attempt on my life. And what I'm showing here is out of the back of Home Depot. You can see where the ground was cut right here, coming out of the back of Home Depot, coming directly towards my house. And in the backyard's where it's believed one of them underground homes is located, okay? And, and I was back here with Homeland Security in 2019, showing them where I believe this human trafficking murder tunnel is at. 2 weeks later, they were pouring concrete there, I was just amazing lawlessness. Here, I just put a whole list, of all the documentation I have for proof of the tunnels and underground facility. Rhonda Denman Rogers said that, underground facilities half block away, a recorded phone call that there's, a woman told me there's 4 3-bedroom, $1 million underground homes. They're having pedophile parties there. Screenshot of Ricky Ronaldo said, I used to live in your house. Me and my brother used to go in the tunnels under it. I was like, oh yeah? Took a screenshot, phone call. Layla O'Brien said, I worked on that job. It was finished in 1987. We had a budget of $7.35 million. It was called the Safe House Project, and she told me the company she worked for on a recorded phone call that's now on YouTube, and said it was put in for George H.W. Bush. I said, did you have to sign any non-disclosure agreement on that? Oh, I had to sign more for stuff for that than any job I ever worked, Here's Joe Lozano, guy running for sheriff. You know, if you can't trust the guy running for sheriff, who can you trust? And he's the one that I secretly recorded telling me that the late Sheriff Painter used to hide out in these underground homes. That's why I'm thinking Painter might have been there when that little girl was murdered, and that's who Angie was afraid of, you know. Well, Painter was one of the high-level police that was there when that little girl didn't want a prostitute that they murdered, you know. Police report camera. Officers Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, Angel, and Hale entered my home from the underground entrance. That proof wasn't found until 2019 because the police report for the murder attempt on my life was illegally withheld for 7 years. It had been subpoenaed, and the police illegally withheld it because it incriminated police. What it did was timestamp police in my house or in or at my home that wasn't seen arriving on the security cameras, and all my other doors were secured with extra locks because of the crimes I'd been reported. That's how I knew they came in from the now removed underground trapdoor entrance that I had been shot from, and which I now believe is covered up. Okay, and then of course they might have been in this underground home in the backyard, you know. Angie Mungia Herrley told me about the girl that was murdered at the oil show party 5 minutes from my home. So law enforcement could talk to her. Google Maps shows a large bunker in my backyard that can't be seen above ground. That's what I just showed you. The video of concrete being poured behind the Home Depot after showing Homeland, where I believe the human trafficking murder tunnel was at, that was used for the oil show parties, okay, where the little girl that was murdered at. And then the screenshot here of one of the many death threats I got. Lance Eggleston says, "We have access to your residence at all times. Nobody would ever believe your story. Ha ha ha. You will be silenced, not if, but when." And I said, "When are you going to murder me, Lance?" Okay. You know, I mean, obviously Lance Eggleston knows about the underground access to this home. Okay. This here is around the corner, and what I'm showing here is a print screen of what Rhonda Denman Rogers says. I said, "There's my home sitting on an underground facility," okay? And she writes back, she goes, "Yes, I know, it's a half block away." Well, around the corner here, a half block away, is a big empty lot. Okay, and I'm thinking maybe one of them other four, because I was told there's 4 underground homes. One's in my backyard. I think there's, you know, at least 3 others. I think maybe one is in this lot. Okay, and one of the reasons is there's a water well here, and my neighbor has a water well right next to where it's believed the underground home is in the backyard. This home had a mortar problem that just like my home had a mortar problem, and it's believed the mortar problem came from digging under the home, okay? And so that was on, 3800 Westmont Court, into Whittle Way. And so maybe the young girl was murdered there. I believe it's a Concho guy, safety guy that owns that home. This is coming when 2 weeks after I showed Homeland, where I believe the human trafficking murder tunnel was at, where the little girl was murdered at. I showed you right here where I think they were using this tunnel to get to the underground home right here. Okay, so I was back here in this trucking lane with the secluded trucking lane with DHS Homeland Security on July 2nd, and then like July 17th. They're back here and they're digging up the ground, pouring concrete, you know. And so I suspected that they were trying to tamper with evidence, trying to cover up that capital murder of that little girl. That's what I thought, you know. The wild oil show parties are famous. This is, and remember, all of this is going to a law enforcement officer, right? We're just praying that he's not dirty, that Alonzo is not a dirty cop. I pray to God that we don't have another dirty cop, you know, because this is so much evidence that, you know, it should be a no-brainer right here that we start, you know, talking to people, investigating and exposing underground facilities, and going and seeing if Caitlin and Krystal and the little girl, and exposing the underground homes, right? Here's a guy posted on Old Midland here. He said, I was working for a multi-billion-dollar oil company. I remember and talking these huge secret parties, okay? Which, you know, and I believe they're held in the underground homes. Jessica Lee Hadley said, "I've been to 2,000 of them oil shows. I tell you what, there's more than just one that's been murdered or raped because she didn't do whatever they wanted to do." And I suspected that too, that there's more than just that one girl I found about that's been murdered or raped, you know, at them underground oil show parties. Victoria McKinney, the late Victoria McKinney, nice, my friend, she's told me about a rape that happened, a brutal rape at the oil show parties years ago. And then this one was more recent. And Tisha Ann Wilkinson Brumley, and she says, "I've had friends and been involved in those oil show parties. They are exactly what you say. They are underground homes." Ain't that amazing? Yes, they are underground homes. I'm going, yep, that's exactly what I thought. You know, and that's where the little girl was murdered at. Okay. I sent this to the law enforcement officer, Alonzo. This is for the previous young homeowner in my home. He died the week before the 2008 oil show started. And, and here's his obituary, okay? And here I'm just showing you, the Odessa American posted a death notice for him and said that he died in Fort Worth. And then 4 days later, they posted a second death notice, changed the location of death, say he died at his residence, was here in Midland. Have you ever heard of that happen before? Now, make this more amazing. A former neighbor of mine, Marilyn DeLuigi, told me twice that Mike died in my house. And that's what it confirmed, this second death notice. I think somebody told them because they knew there was witnesses, and I think Mike was murdered here and taken to Fort Worth. And then the house was sold to the next sucker that was moving in from out of town that didn't know any difference. That would be me, okay? This one right here, okay, is part of a police report. And then here I'm showing at the top, and here I said the police report shows this, okay? It shows that Matt Davis was on the scene at 11:03, but he wasn't seen arriving on the security cameras. Tony Dickey is inside my home. This is via the police report that was illegally withheld for 7 years, and I didn't get it till 2019. He's inside my home at 11:05, but not seen arriving. Greg Chatwell, Kenny Angel, Dylan Hale, also at my home and not seen arriving, okay? That's how I knew that they came in from the underground trapdoor, that entrance that the ex-wife had already told me about, and I was shot from. I believe that was covered up while I was in the hospital, and so here's just part of, this is actually from Dickey here at 11:05. No one in the house, inside, and lots of odd things, booby traps. That was a lie by Dickey. There's no booby traps in evidence. And Alonzo can go check the evidence logs. I did. Dickey lied. There was no booby traps, But the point is he was in my home at 11:05, and Woodward and Naylor were in front of my home 4 minutes earlier. They were seen work on the cameras, okay? That's the thing. The cameras were working, okay? All these guys here, Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, Angel, and Hale, they were not seen arriving. And and the real truth is, I suspect that Martin County Sheriff John Woodward, the first one that showed up here in Midland County at minutes after a premeditated murder attempt, he was also underground. He just come to the front of my house, and he was followed by the late Sheriff Deputy Mike Naylor. That is caught on video, okay? But of course, the timestamp just doesn't have them there. Actually, neither one of them were on the police report. Their names were illegally omitted. 6 officers were illegally omitted. I mean, we're talking about just the shoddiest cover-up, of a premeditated murder attempt that you can imagine, Here, what did these two young ladies have in common? Don't they look alike? That's what I'm talking about. See, the video that went viral was about Caitlin Denison. I'm going, wait a minute, here's another girl that Krystal Hall, about a year later, looked just like her. She came here and she went missing too. And I think there's other ones. And maybe they're in the underground homes, okay? I mean, that just kind of makes sense, okay? These are all video links. And so I just wanted to show you that I sent this to Jay Alonzo and posted it on my Facebook, okay? And there's a lot of stuff. There's one other story I want to show you before I close this out. There it is right there, posted on Facebook, so everybody knows that this was sent to the Midland Police. What I just read you with that huge amount of undeniable, irrefutable evidence, and and I've had 2 people that clicked like on it. 2 people. I mean, it's truly amazing. I want to show you one last thing. This was posted last night, and I said, a cop called me and threatened to arrest me if I talked to Angie again after she told me about the oil show party murder. And see, that was in 2010, and I never talked to Angie again because I complied. I didn't want to be arrested, right? But what I was saying here was, obviously, whatever cop called me was involved. It was underground. That was somebody Officer Alonzo could talk to, right? And I want to show you here what's real interesting. I saw that here in the likes. This come in this morning. Matt Davis clicked like. He was one of the secret police that I paid to get identified. He was one of the police that we now know from the police report that was at my home, and he wasn't seen arriving. Actually, he was with Dickey. Him and Dickey came to my home together. I believe Dickey and Matt Davis probably let out the trap burglar that was in my bathroom that time, and maybe one of them was the shooter. This Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.